Good evening. This is Marc Miller with Career Pivot. This is our Monday evening regular office hour session. Again, I am the man of the hour. I'm the guy behind Career Pivot, and I have my lovely assistants here.
Hello, how are you? I'm happy to be here. I help out Marc with his social media and whatever else. So I'm looking forward to tonight's topic.
Well, Elizabeth here is the one who wrote the blog post.
Yes.
And it was another client of mine that introduced me to Essentialism, the book, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less.
Yes.
And I spent the weekend listening to it again.
Okay.
I have it on Audible.
Okay.
And so it's every time I listen to books like this, there are other things that come up.
Sure.
And so I think we're gonna banter back and forth.
Okay.
So let's start out with Elizabeth, because you wrote the post.
I did. I wrote the post, and yes, and Marc was saying he recommended that I read this book.
Yep.
And
so
go ahead.
So the quote you use, if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will.
And that
what does this mean to you?
Well, first of all, that is so true. That quote is so true. Yes. When I read that in the book, it really hit home to me because I had been feeling a little frustrated because I felt like I went from one activity to another throughout the day, and a lot of them, they were okay and they were fun and everything, but it was like there was no joy, there was no happiness when I was doing these activities. And when I read that, I thought, you know what, I'm letting somebody else or some other company or group or whatever prioritize the things that are important, what they feel is important in my life. And when I started thinking about all the things that I was doing, I stopped and said, you know, some of these things could probably go away. And you know, and what else is it that I want to do? And my time is valuable, and it is easy to get caught up in the treadmill of doing all these things that you think are important and that are necessary. And, you know, really kind of at the end of the day, they probably are, but they're not fulfilling, I guess, is another thing that I was drawing upon, that there was no joy. They were not fulfilling. It was like, well, it's Tuesday, I should go do this. So yeah, that quote really resonated with me, and it kind of encouraged me to spring into action and do something with it and be a better person. So you also read the book too, and I know in the book there are 3 core truths, which I also described in the blog post, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, this is a lot about being focused on what to do. So the 3 core truths is I choose to. Mm-hmm. In other words, what you do, you have a choice. And when someone tells you to do something, you can always say yes or no.
Yes.
And you always have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
2, the second one is only a few things really matter, which, boy, is that true. Mm-hmm. We end up with a lot of things that just simply, at the end of the day, just simply don't matter. Mm-hmm. We can very easily get caught up into busy work. Mm-hmm. And be consumed by things that just flat don't matter. The third one is I can do anything, but not everything.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about what's important now and later on. It is, yeah, you can be doing just about anything, but
mm-hmm.
you know, what I want to go back to is the whole concept of choice.
Yeah. Okay.
Years ago, when I worked for IBM, and I was asked to go to a conference, and they wanted me to go to LA and speak on Monday and Friday.
Wow.
And I said, no, I will speak on late Monday. Mm-hmm. Actually, they wanted me to talk Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
And I said, no, I will speak late Monday, early Tuesday, so I can fly home Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
And if you need someone else for later in the week, I'll find someone to do that talk.
Okay.
But no. We want you, and we want you on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And finally I went, okay, I'm not coming. And they went, what? I said, yeah, I told you what I'm willing to do. I'm not willing to blow an entire week to go attend this conference, which I don't really need to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they finally went, oh, you really mean that? And I said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At that same conference, I was working with the guy who was organizing.
Okay.
He was he was an alcoholic. He was drinking a lot, and there are lots of mitigating factors.
Yeah.
And he was traveling all the time.
Sure.
And I said, well, you can always say no. And he goes, no, I can't. I said, sure you can.
Yes, you can.
And he says, no, my boss will get really angry. I said, so let him get angry.
Yep.
It's damaging your health.
Yeah. Yes.
And he says, well, I don't have a choice. I said, oh, yes, you do. You do have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are always ramifications to that choice, but you have a choice.
Yes.
And that's one of the key things in this book is the fact that, and we'll talk about there are a variety of ways of saying no without saying no.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
with that, Elizabeth,
okay.
have you been practicing saying no, and what have been the results?
I have been practicing saying no. So after I read this book, I did a lot of soul searching, and I did a lot of cleaning of activities that I was doing, and I dropped quite a few of them, and it was liberating. It was great. It was wonderful. I mean, I had more free time to really focus on what I wanted to do, or focus on the project that I was currently involved with, and giving them more, making them more better, contributing a better product to them. So, and also one thing that I found out is that sometimes when you say no or you stop doing something, one of two things happens. Somebody else will come along and pick up the product or the project or the activity, and they'll continue it on, and they'll do it in their own way. And sometimes they'll do it better than you, or in a different way, or whatever. Or most likely, a lot of the stuff just stops and nobody cares about it, and it just floats away, and that's the end of it. So, you have to think about that too when you're saying no. That is this really that important? So, and I also know that saying no is an ongoing process. I feel like right now I'm kind of slipping back into doing a lot of different things, and I'm kind of wondering if it's really bringing me the joy that I want. So I will probably do some soul searching here and see what I find out.
Yeah, let me add a couple of things to that.
Okay.
One of the things the author talks about is a variety of ways of saying no without saying no.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites is, well, let me get back to you on that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so that you're not, I have a variety of clients who don't like to get caught off guard.
Sure.
And so one of the things that comes out of the assessment is learning how to deflect and give time to think about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so immediately not going, oh, yes, I'll go do that. Let me get back to you.
That's one of the best things to do.
Yeah, let me get back to you. Well, and then when you come back, you say, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Well, it also gives you time to really think about it, to see and look at your calendar or whatever, and just really, because if you're kind of on the fence, it gives you that little leeway. It doesn't close the door completely, but it gives you that leeway to think about it. And then if you want to shut the door, just shut it and move on. So.
Yeah. The other way is to say, and this is one of the things that I've done for years, is, okay, you want me to do this. What do you want me to stop doing?
Yep.
If you are really busy and you've got a really full plate of work, if you start doing something, add something to it, something is going to fall off.
Okay.
And so therefore is saying, okay, if you want me to do this, what, and if they say, no, I want to do at all? The answer is no. Because because what happens is something deteriorates. Either the quality of the work deteriorates, or something falls off the plate that you didn't intend to fall off the plate. One of my life philosophies has always been what I call grab and grow. Is you tend to grab things that you're supposed to do, and don't let anybody tell you what to do them. So when someone comes to you and brings you something that you don't want to do, you already have a full plate, and you say, okay, I'm doing all these things. What do you want me to take off? And if you keep your plate full with all the things you want to do, right? Then because what typically happens if you say, no, I got a pretty full plate, they'll go find somebody else to go do it. And that's the fear that so many of us have is, well, if I say no, I will disappoint them. And Ewan talks in the book about the fact that when you say no, there is an initial disappointment. It's followed by respect. And
that's true.
And that's an interesting perspective that until you do it, you don't know that. As I call it, MSU syndrome, make stuff up. Where you make stuff up in your head, you start predicting that, oh, they're going to be unhappy with me. They're going to be mad at me because I can't do this. And the answer is no. If you say no and you have a valid reason behind saying no, this is kind of like when I was teaching high school, my second year, they walked in with a district-wide six-week Algebra 2 test. I looked at it, and it really was bad.
Oh, wow.
This was in the 5th week. So I said, okay, what's the penalty if I don't give this? And they went, Mr. Miller, you don't understand. This is mandatory. And I just, my response was, no. What's the penalty if I don't give it? And the answer was, you don't understand. This is mandatory. I said, you betcha. And I never gave it.
Wow.
They knew I wasn't going to give it. And by the way, nothing happened. Nothing. And that's one of the key things to remember is no one can make you do anything. You always have choice. Now, you may not like the ramifications, but...
well, it's true. I mean, life is all about choices, and so choose carefully, as they say. But another thing too that the book points out is, the whole what they call a fear of missing out, and some people struggle with that. Well, if I say no to these things, I'm going to be missing out on stuff, and well, yeah, you may be, but then again, is the stress and the kind of lack of joy when you're doing the project or the activity, does that outweigh if you do miss out on that? So,
well, I know it's particularly for those of us as we get a little older, the level of stress, and is it worthwhile?
That's a big
And the answer is no.
Exactly.
So let's move on to the next question.
Okay. The author discusses when. What is important now? Can you discuss when and how this relates to our work in multitasking? Yeah.
It's interesting. He talks about a rugby coach. And he talks about the fact that, the guy in rugby coach, he won a gazillion games and lost very few. And he always talked about his players to say it was all about win. And that is to always stay focused on what's important now. It's not about what's important in the game. It's not important what you do after the game. It is what's important at this very moment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stay in the moment, you will stay focused. And it's about keeping priorities. And the reason I put this in, because I really liked it, because he goes into a discussion of multitasking.
Yeah.
And he says, well, you probably think an essentialist would be totally against multitasking. And the answer is, he says, no, we can multitask. We can talk and eat. We multitask all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we only can focus on one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is, and by the way, this is one of the concepts. I'm a big fan of Positive Intelligence book. And one of the things the author in that book talks about is focus. When you focus on what he calls PQ reps, or positive quotient reps, of just focusing on one tiny thing. And one of them is you're going to sit and eat,
Mm-hmm.
and focus on the food in your mouth.
Yep.
And when you do that, and all you're doing is focusing on the texture of the food in your mouth, what
Mm-hmm.
it does, turns this off.
Mm-hmm.
Because you only focus on one thing.
Yep.
And as I said, there was a lot of relation to that. Is we think we can multitask,
Mm-hmm.
but we only can focus on one thing, and that's a important. As we end up, this is one of the things that used to bug me with my last boss and people walking into meetings, and they think they can be sitting working on email and still be in the meeting and be present, and they can't be.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't. And it's similar to sitting through. I sat through a webinar today, and I have to be careful not to go off and become distracted.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's interesting if you can focus on win and keep that completely in focus as to what's the next thing. It's similar to the book. Guy written by, I'll think of it. It's The One. Always focusing on the one thing that's important now.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you focus on that one thing, it will lead to the next. It will lead to the next. It will lead to the next. And this is where we get caught up in this multitasking world. Is we always have all this stuff going on. It's interesting for me. One of the things I have found is turning stuff off on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
It really helped me when I turned off Outlook and went to Gmail, and I no longer have email stuff popping up at me. That's a big help for me, because that's a huge distraction for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the attention span of a pea. Yeah, I mean,
No, there's all that's true.
Yeah, if I have distractions, it's not good. So, so Elizabeth, was there anything else that you'd like to discuss out of the book?
I know that essentialism is an ongoing process. It's something that you have to continually work on and refine. And the beauty of this book is you can read it here today, and then 6 months from now or 2 years from now, and still get something new and interesting from the book. So I continue to work on this. I continue to see what I'm doing in my life to make sure that I'm doing, the things that really make my heart sing, because that's important. And I, look back or reflect back on my career, and I see I spent a lot of time chasing other people's priorities and projects and such. And now I'm trying to put myself first and what I can do to move myself forward. And I also just think it just makes you a better person, more focused. And what you were just talking a little bit ago about not multitasking, because you really are not engaged. You're not engaged to full on with the project or the person that you're working with. So I mean, it's a like I said, it's an ongoing process, and I continue to work on it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I looked back at my last job, and I had a boss who managed up, and when his boss above him wanted something, he just told us to go do it. And we were supposed to be, slugs and just go do it. And I should have said no more often. There were any number of times where what we were doing was stupid. It was, we had certain people in the organization who didn't understand, and I'm sorry I wasn't there just simply to satisfy them.
Yeah.
And, by the time I got to the end, I got much better at saying, nope.
Yeah.
My problem was I didn't say no soon enough.
Yeah. And that's a hard habit to break when you've already established yourself as a yes person, and I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Or as I like to think of it, I was a huge enabler. So yes. I've stepped back from that role, and actually it feels very refreshing. It's not so burdensome.
Yeah. So one of the key pieces that I got out of the book is it is okay to say no. And he has a whole chapter on how to say no without saying no. And and that's incredibly valuable. It's also getting back to what's really important. We do a lot of stuff that just isn't important. And so getting back to that core essence and eliminating stuff that one of the things he talked about in the book is starting with the hard things first. There are several things. It's interesting. I'll probably listen to it again the third and the fourth time because the second time I picked up different things than the first time. And it's a matter of then going, okay, how do I prioritize what I do next? And it's always picking the most important thing. And
and he also points out in the book too that by removing all this excess white noise and extra activity, then it allows you to be open to these phenomenal experiences or opportunities that maybe you would have bypassed if you were very busy. So that was also very powerful comment or thought that made me even more wanting to do this, because who doesn't want to have great opportunities.
So let's kind of wrap this up. One of the things I was introduced to this book, Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less, by David McEwen, John McEwen, I can't remember. And Greg McEwen. And I have several clients, including Elizabeth here, where it has had a major impact on their lives. They are learning to, I have one client who is learning to say no to her boss and now is controlling the dialogue, which is very important. Her boss is a bully, and she's now learned how to control the dialogue and not jump into when the boss says you have to do something, and learning how to. So she was at a conference and her boss called her, and her initial reaction was to immediately call her back, and she was in the middle of a session. So rather than calling her back, she texted her saying, "I'm sorry, I'm in a session right now. I can't call you back. Is this something that we can handle over text?" And so she really didn't want to talk to her boss.
Sure.
And her boss responded back, "Oh no, it's no big deal." But one of the things it did I call this the stop, drop, and roll. Stop, we learned if we ever catch on fire, we're not supposed to go and run away, which is our natural reaction. Is this, she now has a new procedure that she has developed, that when her boss calls her, that she is not going to immediately call her back. If anything, she will text her.
Sure.
and she will not disrupt her currently what she's doing just because her boss called.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is, as I said, this book has had a lot. I highly encourage. I put a link to the book. By the way, that is my. By the way, that's my Amazon affiliate link in there. So I make a little tiny little bit if you buy the book.
Okay.
But with that, if you are watching this recording on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. If you're watching this on my blog, Career Pivot, please give me a comment. After you've watched it, I want you to go read the book. It's a very, very powerful concept. I still love the title, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. So with that, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording. And again, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, give me a share, give me something to tell me what you thought.